somehow, like the NFL with the Damontae Kazee suspension, George Pickens has taken a bad situation and has made it worse with some of his comments in the media yesterday. So in response to the non-block that he made for Jaylen Warren as he was approaching the end zone, this is what Pickens had to say. I was trying to prevent the Tank Dell situation, the same thing that happened to him. So if you guys don't know, Tank Dell was making a block for the Texans when they were trying to run the ball, and he got rolled up on torn ACL. Yeah, it was torn ACL, not torn Achilles, right? Torn ACL, out for the season. Most likely, depending on his recovery time, might be out for a couple weeks in 2024. But we all understand ACL, bad injury. Pickens was trying to avoid something like that happening to him. Says, I ain't want to get an injury. When you stay on the block too low, you can get ran up on very easily. Listen, dude, it's football. You can't be worrying about yourself and getting injured on every play. Do you worry about yourself getting injured whenever a quarterback throws you a pass over the middle, or if a quarterback throws you a bad ball over the sideline? No. But when it comes to blocking and helping out your teammates, then you're concerned about injuring yourself. Like, it just doesn't add up, dude. Like, this is exactly what many people have been talking about when it comes to the Steeler way, and if it's been lost within the locker room, within the players of this current team. Like, this is a me first mentality. This is not a team first mentality. Not a team first. We can't have this, man. We can't. You think Hines Ward is worried about getting injured when he was blocking for Willie Parker and Jerome Bettis back in the day? Hell no. Are you kidding me? No. Like, this is a basic football fundamental, right? Block for your guys. You could get hurt on any given play. It doesn't have to be when we're running the ball, but you're supposed to do your job. That's what you're getting paid to do. But then, in reference to some of this criticism Pickens has been getting, he's blaming the media. So right here, you see the first tweet by Brooke Pryor. When asked about the block on Jaylen Warren's run, Pickens says, yeah, all the people that's questioning my effort, they don't play football. They do what y'all do. And is talking about the media. Also was asked what kind of conversations has he had with some of the offensive guys on this unit, leaders and such, and just the way you need to approach things from your standpoint. Because like I said, everybody that got opinions are all the media surface guys. None of them play football. Come on, man. You can't be blaming the media for your lack of effort, for what you are putting out there on tape on a game in and game out basis. Because it's not just the media. It's the fans that are watching the game on TV. It is your coaches. Mike Tomlin has addressed some of your lack of effort. Eddie Faulkner today has addressed some of your lack of effort. And they both say it's unacceptable. So it's not just the media. But I'll even take it a step further. It's former players that are partaking in media duties now. But former players. And not just former players on ESPN or some of the big networks. Former Steeler players. Former Steelers legends like Big Ben, like Ryan Clark. Merrill Hodge just mentioned last week that the Steeler receivers for 2023 don't run full routes. They give half-ass efforts. Are those guys media? I mean, again, to a degree, yes, that is their job now. But no, these are former players. It's not people like me. And I don't even, do I consider myself media these days? I don't even know. I'm Deke. I'm just here, man. But you get the point. It's not just media. It's not just fans. It's not just your coaches. Probably players too. I mean, Deontay Johnson gets asked about it all the time, and he's trying to defend you, but also saying like, yeah, we got to get things right. Allen Robinson's mentioned that too. But then you're also having Steeler legends, other former players talking about what you're putting out there and saying it's not good enough. Like, you can't have this. You can't have this in your locker room. You can't have this in your organization. So the next thing that we got to ask ourselves is, when is this going to stop being allowed? When is the message going to be sent? Because Minka had that really good quote from a couple weeks ago after the Patriots game saying, like, man, there's players on this team that aren't putting in the work. They just feel like showing up in the black and gold. That's going to be enough. So you have that quote. You have a dude like Minka, too, who's out there with a broken hand, is doing anything to get out there on the field, giving his 100% full effort, putting his body on the line, play in and play out. You have that. But then on the flip side, you're also allowing guys like Pickens to go out there and give a lack of effort, not give it their all. So which way is it? And that comes down to leadership. That comes down to Tomlin. Like, at what point are we going to say this is enough? We got to bench you. We got to move our separate ways. Do something. Cut them, trade them. Who knows? Now, I don't know what that timeline is. And specifically for this week, I'll give them one more chance, because there is potential that Mason Rudolph will be starting this week. I don't want to take Pickens out of the lineup for Mason. And then if Pickett plays, I would like to see that Pickett to Pickens connection continue like it was in that Bengals game and like it was in that Arizona game before Pickett got hurt. So I'm giving Pickens one more chance this week to make things right, to look himself in the mirror. And if it's more of the same, bro, we got to bench you for the last 2 weeks. We got to. And then we're having some serious conversations in the offseason. Like, do you want to be here? Do you want to be a Steeler? Mike Tomlin has said it best. We want volunteers, not hostages. We don't want to, like, babysit you the whole way through this. Like, you have talent. You have what it takes to be a top 10 receiver, to be an elite receiver. We all get that. And I think that's why we're really frustrated, is it's all there. And I know it's been tough for you, bro. Like, I know it's been tough for Pickens because of the quarterback play. But at the same time, things eventually will get better. So seeing your attitude right now when there's adversity, it's like, bro, what's it going to be like when things get better? Can we trust you that when it is better and we do have some adversity, because there's always going to be adversity in football, always. Like, when we're down and a half in a big game, like, are you just going to go in the tank? Like, what happens when we give you a big contract? Are you just going to be satisfied with the status quo then? Or are you going to continue to improve and try to pass on this Steeler way that we're talking about? Everything you've done up to this point is showing me that I don't know if we could trust you like that. I don't know. I guess things can change. We got 3 games left this season. Starts this week against the Bengals. That's why I'll give Pickens another chance. One more. And I think the reason we are giving him these chances is because of the talent. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's probably wrong, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, up to this point, it's probably wrong. But with the QB situation in flux, I think you give Pickens this week to make things right. This week to make things right. How do you guys feel about everything I said right there? Okay, we got a couple comments here. Dirty Rag says O-line over quarterback. You're talking about in the draft. We're already talking about draft right here, man. Okay. Harry Latch says, Deke, my guy, I know you're a Kenny guy and so am I. However, if you had to pick a QB in this draft other than Williams and May, which one would you be okay with? Nah, I ain't worried about it. Because my answer is going to be you draft the guy late to be a depth quarterback for Pickett. That'll be my answer. So I'm assuming that's not what you're looking for. You're talking more about like McCarthy and Penix, Daniels. Like, who would I prefer amongst those guys? I'm not even thinking about those guys. I'm rolling with Kenny if it's my choice. I'm rolling with 8. I'm sticking with 8. But speaking of Pickett, dude was seen practicing yesterday. Tomlin said his availability will be up to the doctors. And yeah, that'll ultimately determine his status for this game against the Bengals. He has declared Mason the starter over Mitch. And I'm assuming what he means by that, too, is if Pickett is available and is good to go, we will be starting Kenny Pickett. And that should be the case. And that's no matter what side of the spectrum you're on with Kenny Pickett. Because if you're a guy that is like, yeah, let's just tank the rest of these games, let's move on from Pickett, he sucks. We still should get a full evaluation or a more full evaluation on the quarterback that we selected in the first round just a couple years ago, right? We should try to get him out there as, the guy that we declared the starter this season in his second year. We should try to get some more tape just to, make sure, right? To make sure, get a more clear picture of this guy that we drafted in the first round heading into the offseason. And that could determine what the Steelers do, what competition they bring in, what other quarterbacks they add for depth, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you're a Kenny hater, it makes sense to start this guy. But if you're in the boat like me, where you're looking and saying, hey, 3 games left, if we went out, 80% chance to make it to the playoffs, Kenny Pickett is the better quarterback over Mason Rudolph. Just based off the fact when Kenny's in games, we win them. Dude is 7-2 this year when he starts and finishes games for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mason Rudolph, there's a reason he's the third quarterback. Am I missing something here? There's a reason we were fed up with him in 2019 and wanted Duck Hodges in there over him. And he's shown some flashes since he got an opportunity in that last game of the year. What was it? In 2020, whenever we clinched our playoff spot against the Browns, threw for 300 yards, a few touchdowns. Jets game in 2019 where he actually came in for Duck. We had to bench Duck because it got so bad with Duck. Got us, I think, to a tied game right before halftime. Threw some good passes, but then he got hurt. And then I think the last time we saw him in the regular season, an actual meaningful duty, not just, last week, 2 minutes left in garbage time against the Colts, was the Lions in 2021. And he was so there, had his ups and downs. So Mason has been inconsistent. And if you even want to talk about preseason, there's many times he's looked off in the last 2-3 years. So yeah, it's Mason Rudolph. I feel like there's a lot out there on him. Now there's been some time in between where he's had a consistent role for us as the starter, but it's Mason Rudolph, man. I think there was a reason we were good with moving off of him. And after he saw there was not much interest around the league, came back to us on a 1-year deal. Kenny Pickett is the better option for us. So no matter what way you want to spin it, you're a guy that is still holding out some hope that the Steelers can turn around, win these games, maybe make the playoffs, go on a push. You want Kenny Pickett, but also, even if you're just like, season's over, you still should want to see Kenny Pickett to get a more full sample size on the guy. Because last time we saw him without Matt Canada in that Bengals game, offense put up 400 yards, and he had the best game of his NFL career. And then things were looking fine for the offense in the Cardinals game before he got hurt. So, yeah, I think no matter what, Kenny Pickett should be the starter. Is there even a real debate to this? I don't know if I'm doing a straw man with this of like a Kenny Pickett versus Mason Rudolph. I'm sure there's people out there that just don't care. I'm sure there's that. But I'm assuming most of Steeler Nation, if Kenny is healthy, would want to see him, right? Yeah, maybe I'm just straw manning it here and actually thinking there is a debate amongst the fans. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I should put up a poll question. See what you guys say. Do you want Kenny or Mason? Let me see. Because actually, you know what? No, I don't think I am straw manning it, because going back a few weeks, whenever we asked the question, who should be the starter for the next game, this is when Kenny was healthy. I forget what game it was coming off of, but 38% were leaning Mason. So I don't know what it would be right now. I'll just go, who should be QB1 for week 16? Kenny, Mason. You guys let me know. Let's get to this while you guys answer that question. Let's get to this Damontae Kazee suspension, because like Pickens, as I mentioned in the intro, they made a bad decision, even worse with their ruling to suspend the Steelers safety for the rest of the season. Just an absolute abomination. Absolute abomination. The dude makes, by the letter of the law, a legal hit. He goes low, leads with the shoulder. There's no helmet-to-helmet activity. And unfortunately, Pittman takes a big hit because of it. But it has nothing to do with Damontae Kazee and how he played it. It was more due to Gardner Minshew overthrowing Michael Pittman. Like, I get they threw the flag. The optics were bad. I don't even think they should have thrown a flag because, again, what did Damontae Kazee do wrong on that hit? But I get it for optics. But then the choice to eject him from the game, that was egregious. Absolutely egregious. They went way too far on that. But then to even triple down on it, the NFL suspends Kazee for the whole season. They said it was due to him being a repeat offender because he's had other big hits throughout the season that he got fined for. To be honest with you, I don't even remember any of those big hits. I feel like the biggest hit that Kazee has had this year, outside of that Pittman one, was the one that he made earlier in the game. I think it was on the Colts' first series. He dropped a hammer on the dude. But again, it was a clean hit. I thought that was his biggest hit, so I don't know what other hits he was getting fined for throughout the season. He doesn't come off as a dirty player to me, but I saw some report that some of those fines got rescinded. So I don't really know what the NFL's doing here and why they're suspending him for the full season. Is it for the hit against Pittman, or is it also because he's a repeat offender? But then you're talking about rescinding those fines. So how bad were those hits really? I don't know, man. I don't know. I agree with Tom Brady here, 100%. Nobody likes seeing players get hurt, but hard hits happen. QBs should not be throwing the ball in areas where they are exposing their own teammates to these types of hits. Coaches need to coach better. QBs need to read coverages and throw the ball to the right places, and defenders should aim for the right hitting areas. To put the blame on the defensive player all the time is just flat out wrong. Need better quarterback play. It's not okay, quarterbacks, to get your receivers hit because of your bad decisions. It's 100%. Offenses and quarterbacks, receivers, they are looking for the refs to bail them out and blame defensive players for their bad decisions. Like, it just doesn't add up. We've moved to such an offensive league, but I think it's gone overboard. The NFL is naturally a physical game. And the more you want to take the tackling, take the hits, take the physicality out of it, it's going to turn into flag football. And people are going to start tuning in less and less. People are going to have more negative reactions like this. And it's not just from fans. It's from ambassadors of the game, like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, like a bunch of these former players that are media analysts. They say the same thing. They're like, man, some of these rules have got too soft. And it's not completely on the refs. It's on the NFL for making these type of things the focus. And no one likes the hit that took place, right? No one is saying, oh, man, I want more of those type of hits in the game. Like, we all get it. I think the NFL has done a good job of highlighting the player safety over the last decade because of some of the concussion lawsuits, all that stuff that was happening back in the 2010s. They've done the right thing and have focused on player safety. But I think it has gone overboard in, trying to take physicality out of the game, because it's not only this Kazee hit, it's some of these roughing the passer calls too. Normal tackles where a pass rusher is getting to the quarterback, tackling them, even as they're going down, trying to lay off them, they're calling roughing the passer. Like, these are normal tackles. This is a normal football play. What else do you want the guy to do? Stop penalizing it. So I've heard Kazee is trying to appeal it, rightfully so. I don't know if that means we'll see him for this game. Like, the appeal process will still allow him to play while the legal stuff is getting worked out behind the scenes. But yeah, hopefully it gets dwindled down to nothing, but the most likely scenario would be one game. So we'll wait and see on that. I think the NFL, made a joke of a decision here to suspend him the whole year. I thought it was a joke of a decision to eject him to begin with because he's making a normal play as a defensive player, as a safety out there. Gardner Minshew, like Tom Brady said, threw the ball in harm's way. Got his receiver hurt. Is that on Kazee? Kazee's job is to break up the pass, to hit the receivers so they don't get any more yards. What do you want him to do next? Just let them catch it? Then you're getting to flag football. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here going forward with some of these calls, some of these things that the NFL has highlighted for the refs to, bring to their attention for some of these games, right? It's not just this one. It's some of these roughing the passer calls. I know this whole drop tackles, one of the things that's being brought up heading into this offseason. It's tough, man. It's tough.